On today's primetime local news, a new study shows getting canola out of the fields to be the worst in 4 years.
Well, I think it was just a tough year all around.
And after a bit of a slump in the season, Bobcats Midget AAA came out victorious over the weekend.
Obviously, it's huge for sure. We were in a bit of a slump, so it's good to get 3 points this weekend, hopefully go on a tear before we head up to Calgary.
Plus, CBI Health Center helps the drop-in center with a Christmas food drive.
Prime time local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Well, with Christmas only 9 days away, organizations around the border city are getting ready for their Christmas events. For local shelters and drop-in centers, that means they may potentially see more people in need of a place to be. One local business wants to help the drop-in center by running a food drive. Our Jasmine King has more.
CBI Health Center wanted to give back to the community around the holiday season because of the amount of support they get throughout the year.
We wanted to celebrate this Christmas, find a charity, maybe look to give back to the community a little bit. And I seen the posting about the Lloyd Drop-In Center, that they were starting to do lunches for the soup kitchen. And we thought, we haven't seen this one have a charity drive yet, and we thought this would be a good one to pick for CBI to represent.
The drop-in center has only been operating in Lloydminster for over a month. With the cold season approaching, they'll be getting busier, and this food drive can help them feed more people who may need help.
The people that access the drop-in, it's perhaps a difficult time for them. There's certain circumstances where we want to take that seriously. We want to be able to provide any and all support that we can, and the fact that we were approached as opposed to us reaching out, it's just, you know that the idea is expanding, which is just huge.
The drop-in center serves around 30 to 40 people a day, and getting the support of the community through this food drive means they'll be able to feed even more people.
We do our meals, we do breakfast Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we do our lunches as well Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I think being able to perhaps do take-home meals as well would be huge as well, because beyond the drop-in hours, people have to eat as well, so being able to go above and beyond like CBI would be the least that we can do.
They are accepting items until the 19th and are looking for a range of different food items.
Anything probably non-perishable, like canned foods, pastas, paper plates, the cups that we said that they use for serving utensils.
You can drop off the items at CBI Health Center. Jasmine King, Primetime Local News.
In this week's retrospect, our Abby St. John takes a look at two stories. Back in 1997, a cancer center opened up in Bonnyville, and a second story back in 2006 of a local woman who went above and beyond while decorating for Christmas. Here's a look.
Back in 1997, Bonnyville opened up a cancer center to better treat cancer patients.
The Bonnyville Health Center has a new tool in the fight against cancer. This community cancer center is the result of 6 years of hard work. It's one of several the Alberta Cancer Board is setting up across the province.
What we're trying to do with community cancer centers like this new one in Bonnyville is to take the expertise that we have in Edmonton and bring that expertise to the doorstep of people.
Located within the Bonnyville Health Center, it comes at no extra cost to the facility. The one doctor and two nurses will have their training covered by the Cancer Board, and the health center already had the room. While radiation therapy will not be available here, patients will receive basic and intermediate treatment, including chemotherapy. However, the biggest asset of the center is its location.
Back in 2006, a local woman filled every inch of her home with the Christmas spirit.
One step into Betty Wakefield's house, and you're welcomed by an oasis of Christmas spirit.
About 3 years ago, I started. Didn't have too much then. People give me stuff, and I buy it after Christmas because it's cheaper. But yeah, this year got the most out.
Betty and her daughter started decorating just after Halloween and are still putting on the finishing touches.
And this usually stays up until, I don't know, whenever I get sick of it, March. I try to catch everybody's Christmas and New Year's.
From cookie jars to toothbrush holders, almost every household item has been replaced with the Christmas version.
For this week's retrospect, I'm Abby St. John.
Retrospect is brought to you by Webb's Machinery. Webb's Machinery, your New Holland dealer in Vermilion, Vegreville, and Lamont.
It's -11 here currently in Lloydminster. We had a fairly clear and sunny day today, which is nice, but expect periods of light snowfall beginning early this evening and ending around after midnight. Early tomorrow morning. 9km/h winds coming in from the west, making it feel like closer to -15 with that wind chill. Across the region in Alberta, it's -12 in Cold Lake, -9 in Athabasca and Whitecourt, -3 out in Jasper, -10 in Edson, -11 in Rocky Mountain House and in Red Deer, and -7 out in Edmonton. And on the Saskatchewan side, -17 in Meadow Lake, Prince Albert and Melfort, -15 in Saskatoon, and -13 out in North Battleford. And overnight in North Battleford, they will also experience some snowfall tonight, with the temperature dropping to -16, and that wind will be at 9km/h coming in from the east. And then tomorrow will pick up to 13km/h coming in from the southeast, with a daytime high of -8 and a fairly cloudy day. In Cold Lake, it's the same expectation for snow overnight, with the temperature dropping to -19, and that wind will be at 7km/h coming in from the east-southeast, which will pick up to 13km/h coming in from the south tomorrow, with a daytime high of -6 and a cloudy day. Here in Lloydminster, expect light snowfall starting earlier tonight and into early tomorrow morning after midnight, with the temperature at -12, and that wind will be at 11km/h coming in from the southeast, which will pick up to 13km/h coming in from the south tomorrow, with a daytime high of -3 and a mix of sun and cloud, and a low of -12. However, with that wind chill, it'll feel closer to -10. Then on Wednesday, it'll be a fairly cloudy day with a high of -4 and a low of -6, but unfortunately that wind chill will make it feel like a very cold -20. And then on Thursday, it will be a high of -9 and a low of -11, with a mostly cloudy day, with that wind chill making it feel like closer to -17. That wraps up your 3-day forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
Welcome back. A tough harvest for farmers has led to a poor canola yield. Stats Canada released the number for this year's crop production, showing the worst year for canola since 2015. Eric Bay has more.
While this year produced the smallest amount of canola in 4 years, the news isn't surprising to producers, especially from the area.
Crops are maybe better in this area, but not as good overall. Yeah, of course. I think as it's been described, the harvest of hell, and I think that's true. It just keeps going on.
A high amount of precipitation led to a strong growing season, but the rain also left growers struggling to complete harvest, leaving lots of canola in the field.
Well, I think it was just a tough year all around. Cool summer and just a fall. Rain just kept coming every few days. Not much rain, but we had rain every 3 days and wet nights.
The problem doesn't end here for producers. With all the crop left in the field, next year's growing season will be delayed as farmers attempt to get the remaining crop off the field and try to market their crop.
We're going to see spring being very difficult for some producers with trying to seed and harvest at the same time. And market this crop. When you come off in the spring, you're always can be hit with some other challenges in marketing.
This fall saw farmers forced to combine in late November in the area due to the conditions. Eric Bay, Primetime Local News.
Farm customers can expect to pay an additional $60 on their power bills in 2020 due to a rise in the carbon tax. Effective January 1st, the federal carbon tax that is applied to Sask Power's fossil fuel emissions will increase from $20 to $30 per ton. Sask Power says the year-over-year cost increase for residential customers will be equal to 1.5%, which will work out to an estimated $22 per year. And now let's take a look at your agriculture prices for today.
We're a part of less than 5% of Canadian auto body shops and Lloydminster's only locations with certified collision care recognition at City Centre Auto Body.
After a bit of a slump in their season, the Inland Steel Midget AAA Bobcats came out with a very successful weekend. After being winless in their last 5 games, the Bobcats took on the Sherwood Park Kings and the Airdrie Bisons. The Cats would come back to tie the Kings and ran away with a 5-1 win against the Bisons.
Obviously, it's huge for sure. We were in a bit of a slump, so it's good to get 3 points this weekend, hopefully go on a tear before we head up to Calgary.
These 3 points come at the right time. The Bobcats are taking on 2 teams high in the standings next weekend.
It does a lot for the confidence. We've been playing the right way the last little bit. I think we got points in 3 of 4, so yeah, it's good to reward the boys for playing the right way.
Today's win against Airdrie is just the Bobcats' 4th win against the South. Former Edmonton Oiler Taylor Hall has now been traded from the New Jersey Devils to the Phoenix Coyotes. Later on the panel, we'll discuss the lead-up to the trade. Now, to our Abby St. John, who has the weather.
Thanks, Evan. Well, taking a look at our satellite radar, there's heavy snowfall coming in from Edmonton and making its way east here in Lloydminster. As I said before, there will be periods of light snowfall starting early this evening and hopefully dying off around after midnight sometime as it makes its way from Edmonton to our area. And on the Saskatchewan side, still fairly clear, just a lot of heavy cloud coverage. North Battleford may experience some snow overnight as well, and it looks as though it's making its way to Macklin and the Maidstone area as well, so definitely be cautious about that. And also keep in mind that there could be a risk of frostbite overnight, so make sure your cars are plugged in and you're dressed for the weather tomorrow morning. And current temperatures -11 here in Lloydminster as well as in Maidstone, -9 in Macklin, -13 in North Battleford, -17 in St. Walburg, -19 in Meadow Lake, -14 in Pearson, -18 in Green Lake, and -25 up in Isla Cross. And on the Alberta side, -11 in Marwayne and St. Paul and Lac La Biche, -12 in Cold Lake, -13 in Bonnyville, -9 in Vermilion and Wainwright, -8 in Provost and Vegreville, and -7 out in Edmonton. And tomorrow, a daytime high of -3 here in Lloydminster, as well as in Marwayne and Bonnyville and Wainwright, -6 in Cold Lake, -4 in Lac La Biche, -1 in Vermilion and St. Paul, 0 in Vegreville, +2 in Edmonton, and -2 in Provost. And on the Saskatchewan side, -5 in Maidstone, -1 in Macklin, -8 in North Battleford and Meadow Lake, -10 in St. Walburg, -9 in Green Lake, -7 in Pearson, and -13 up in Isla Cross. And overnight across the region, Meadow Lake, Bonnyville, Paradise Hill, Pearson, Wainwright, and Murnum will experience some snow overnight and heavier cloud coverage. In Isla Cross, Provost, and Unity, there's a lesser chance that it will snow overnight. Isla Cross sitting at the coldest out of the region at -28, and other temperatures ranging between -21 and -12. Your school day forecast for tomorrow at 8 a.m. It'll be -12 with a heavy cloud coverage, which will be the trend for most of the day. And then by the time recess rolls around, it'll be -11, then warm up to -8 at lunchtime. And then by the time school is out, it should be -6 with a mix of sun and cloud and a low of -12. And then on Wednesday, it will be a high of -4 and a low of -6 with heavy cloud coverage. On Thursday, a high of -9 and a low of -11. On Friday, it will be a high of -7 and a low of -14. To start your weekend off on Saturday, it will be a high of -9 and a low of -11. Then we get back to the double digits with a high of -11 and a low of -13 on Sunday. And then on back next Monday, it will be a high of -11 and a low of -18. That wraps up your 7-day forecast. We'll have more news in the question of the day coming up after the break.
All right, well, Jimmy Fallon asked his viewers to tweet hashtag I got busted and share the most embarrassing time they got caught. The question was, what was your most embarrassing moment? I know I have many, but since it's Christmas, I was young when I used to open gifts underneath the Christmas tree and then wrap them back before anyone came. Oh yeah, the whole family came down and caught me. And I never forgot that. I never did it again, obviously, but that was the little story of mine.
Yeah, that's really funny. An embarrassing moment I had was in junior high. Me and a group of friends were walking back to our class from gym, and I tripped, and I played it off like I was dancing. I just started dancing and they saw right through me. They knew I was I fell or I tripped, and I was just covering it up by dancing.
Well done.
It was just a reflex. I didn't even think about it. I just started dancing to hide the fact that I tripped, and it did not go well.
It didn't go well. You remembered that you fell, but everybody else probably thought you were just like, oh,
They knew I tripped.
They knew you tripped.
They knew I tripped.
But they fell. Did anyone pick you up?
No, I didn't actually fall, but I did.
Okay, you caught
I
yourself.
almost fell. Yeah.
That is awesome. Anyway, let's talk about pets, obviously. Thank you for sending us your beautiful pets for a chance to win a gift card from the Pet Pad. Of course, this is the first week again for a chance for you guys to win.
See your pet. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
In studio today with, as always, Josh Ryan. And today we'll be talking a little bit about, we're starting it off at least with hockey, where the Lloydminster Bobcats had a bit of an up and down weekend, finding some goods and some bads here.
That feels like their entire month of December at this point. The team had obviously a rough start to the season, and they've slowly managed to find some bright spots, thanks in part to that goaltender trade they made. Josh Diaz has been excellent for them. But again, up and down this weekend, as you say, winning 3-1 against Whitecourt, which is a solid team win for them. A not great result following that 6-1 to the Grand Prairie Storm. That is, again, as you said, has been basically their entire month, where they've had some good results, but as soon as they have a good result and they're against a tougher opponent, then they have a drop-off. So that, breaks a losing streak, obviously, with the 3-1 win. They got an okay result against the Pontiacs, unfortunately losing 6-4 at home. They got to have better responses, though. Once you get one win, you can't turn around and drop game by that many goals. A couple other bright spots, though, obviously. Javen Leslie scoring his first goal as a Bobcat, so a homegrown talent. That's good to see. And then Shea Dugan, a call-up from the AAA squad, getting to play some big league action, per se, over the weekend. So good experience for him as well.
For sure. And Dugan, 16-year-old, getting to come up, after playing 15 AAA last year to now midget AAA, and now as well this season getting the call up to the AJHL, just making that many steps in his game. That's really good to see from the Bobcats. Really bright future, like you said, Javen Leslie scoring his first AJ goal. So there's something to build on there and something to really get the momentum going there for for the future.
Absolutely, and you've seen that with Javen Leslie, Ben Bygrove. They got a little bit of junior A experience in the past season when they were playing on the AAA team, and they probably needed that to get the confidence building and learn about sort of how fast the game is for when they did their off-season training heading into this season. So obviously, good opportunity for Dugan. And his AAA team, meanwhile, had a pretty good weekend of their own, though they were matched against some lower end of the competition.
Yeah, for sure. They took on the Sherwood Park Kings and the Airdrie Bisons. The Kings are sitting one spot below them in the standings. Meanwhile, the Bisons are bringing up the rear of the Southern Division. They tied the Kings there, so they still split the points there, still got 1 point, and then they stomped the Bisons 5-1, really running away with it. 5 unanswered goals there, with 4 of them coming in the second period. And it was a real team effort. They just kept building on each other's momentum line after line. And, this one's huge for them, especially heading into the Max International tournament coming up in January there, and trying to finish off this year on a high note. Couple teams that were trying to find their high notes were the Lloyd Comp basketball teams.
Indeed, you have the senior team playing in several tournaments heading into the Christmas break. We forget just how busy the high school season is. As soon as volleyball is done, they're right in the thick of it with exhibition play, some teams with league play. And the senior team, they're in a bit of a transition year in some senses because their two of the best players they've had in the last 5-10 years, both gone from last year's team that felt like they had a shot at winning 5A provincials in Saskatchewan. They are missing those two guys, and they're not really expecting to be sort of top tier, but they've had some decent tournament results, 4 straight tournaments where they're top 4. And if they can, use that momentum and those kind of learning moments from those tournaments where they're playing top competition, not necessarily getting wins, that does bode well for when they go into regionals, and you need to be a top 2 team at regionals to go to provincials. So they need that experience heading into that tournament.
And Josh, this past weekend at John Paul II, they finished 4th place, like you said. What do you think they need to do to just get over that hump?
Slightly sharper on the defensive side of things, but it's also sort of finding offense where they can get it, because when you don't have a player who can get his or her own shot whenever you want, it requires a little bit more crisp passing from the team. Guys not forgetting to make their cuts, getting to spots specifically, and then knocking down open shots when you have. You need sort of an all-around participation from the rest of the group.
And then, Josh, finally, our last note here, a couple other of those Lloyd Comp teams in action, as well as a Holy Rosary Junior Varsity Girls team, which beat the Lloyd Comp team by 51. Thoughts on that?
That's a bit of a beatdown, 51 points certainly. You're going to see a lot of up and down results like that in the JV side of things, and certainly in the junior high league that's in town. Some of the teams will be a little overmatched compared to others. Junior boys as well, actually, at the comp have had a couple of good tournament results themselves, but still a learning process there. And we'll see a lot more of that in January, obviously, because now things are going to start to slow down and people will have their time off. Obviously, college students gone already. I'll be interested to see how a team like the comp, resulting after a 51-point loss, how they kind of bounce back after the Christmas break.
I guess we'll see what this learning curve is like for the junior varsity teams.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
Back in studio with the one and only Josh Ryan. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the professional sports world, starting it off with a bit of a hot topic in the NHL. Taylor Hall, former Edmonton Oiler, possibly former New Jersey Devil. His name's been on the trade block quite a bit lately.
And they've actually been holding him out of games at this point to try to preserve his health in hopes that he's not going to be damaged goods when they trade him. That's been a really interesting case where Taylor Hall doesn't feel like more than yesterday that he was an MVP candidate, and now he's going to end up with another team. His former team, the Oilers, have been rumored in that. I'm not sure where the trade fit is there, because while they could certainly use some depth, I don't think they have the pieces to get him, and they certainly don't want to sacrifice anything on the defensive end to do so. The Flames, another team that have been rumored, another Canadian market, but again, I don't know what piece they'd be willing to give up, and myself personally as a Flames fan, the way they're starting to play now, I don't think it's actually worth it for them to give up some of their defensive depth to get him in on the offensive end when we already have a fair amount of offensive depth as long as Johnny Gaudreau continues to score. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't think you see him in a Canadian market. I think there's another team that could swoop in.
So quick question, West or East?
I think the Western Conference. There's a couple of teams, for example, the Sharks and the Ducks, who still feel like they could be playoff teams that will make a swing at it. I'm sure the Canucks would love to, but again, I don't think they have the pieces, so I don't see it a Canadian team. Him out in California, not too far out of possibility. Speaking of hockey, the World Juniors are coming up quick, and it should be an interesting World Juniors year for Canada.
For sure. A couple cuts that I wasn't too sure about with Peyton Krebs, the Vegas Golden Knights first round pick getting cut there. And that, so I don't know how they're going to fare out. He added some depth, especially defensively as a forward, but they're getting even more depth from some NHL players coming back. Joe Veleno and Barrett Hayton, 2 ones already confirmed coming back, and possibly Noah Dobson to add to that back end. Could possibly join Lloydminster native Ty Smith there. So that's really exciting. Something else exciting is some G League news, the NBA's minor league affiliate having some big news coming out of it.
Yeah, they're finally talking about unionizing with the National Basketball Players Association. You'd think this is something they would have done many years ago, but again, that organization has only been around since 2001, unlike other minor leagues. So now you could see an increase in pay potentially coming for players. There's 28 teams now, so they should have some form of representation to make sure situations are better for players. I believe that the base salary is $35,000, which is not very much. And then really quickly, we want to touch on it before we go, quite the President's Cup.
Yeah, for sure. In a tournament that's not usually quite this exciting, it really got sparked up. This was the first time ever that there was a comeback within the tournament, with the United States coming back on the last day, really just battling back. Tiger Woods was the playing captain there, and he really just carried his team and led them to a championship on that last day, with Matt Kuchar sinking that final putt. A couple key Canadians for the international side. Mike Weir was assistant captain, not playing, and Adam Hadwin played for the international side as well. This is the 8th straight year for the United States winning that, so it looks like they're starting to maybe start to turn it up a bit more even. And Tiger Woods, 44 years old, still killing it in this game. Absolutely insane. Something else that's been insane has been the NFL situation thus far, with a couple teams clinching. Now only 2 weeks left, and I guess better time than ever to send it over to our NFL analyst, Abby St. John, with the last minute of play.
Thanks, guys. With only 2 weeks left of the regular season, several teams will be heading to the playoffs. After the Rams lost to the Cowboys 44-21, the Seahawks, Packers, and 49ers clinched playoff berths. The Patriots and Bills also clinched a spot in the playoffs with their wins on Sunday. The Chiefs, Ravens, and Saints clinched their division titles. The Titans, Colts, Browns, Raiders, Rams, and Eagles are still in the hunt for the playoffs, and the rest of the league has been eliminated from playoff contention. During the Ravens' 42-21 win over the Jets during Thursday Night Football, quarterback Lamar Jackson beat Michael Vick's 1,039 single-season record for rushing yards for a quarterback. Jackson currently has 1,103 rushing yards. Tonight's Monday Nighter is an important one for both teams involved. The Saints are at home against the Colts, and even though they've clinched a spot in the playoffs, they still need a win if they want a chance at the number 1 or 2 seed atop the NFC, which is currently held by the Seahawks and Packers. The Colts are still in the hunt for the playoffs, so they need a win to keep that hope alive. My Monday night pick is a Saints win 32-24, and that is your last minute of the play. Taking a look at your 7-day forecast one last time, a high of -3 and a low of -12 for tomorrow with a mix of sun and cloud. And then it gets cloudy for the next week with a high of -4 on Wednesday, and then -9 on Thursday, -7 on Friday, and then to start your weekend on Saturday, it'll be a high of -9. And then on Sunday and Monday, it'll both be a high of -11 to wrap up your 7-day forecast.
I'm liking the -3.
Yes.
Idea, not the -11s and 12s and all of that.
However, you have to take into account the wind chill, so it's going to be a little bit colder just with that wind. So that's
gonna be, yeah. And it's gonna snow a little bit tonight.
Yes, it should start to snow this evening and then die off after midnight.
After midnight, oof.
Yeah.
12, I don't know about that. But anyway, and that is it for our show. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow.